and welcome to Witch Hat Chats. Come on in and sit for a spell. We're sponsored by Evermoving We Rise, Moonlight Potions and Charms, and Saul Ravencraft, Wizard for Hire. I am your goddess host, Miss Nikki Kirby, and our co-host, Saul Ravencraft, is around here somewhere. Where are you, Saul? I know you like to hide. Come on out.
Here I am, Nikki. How are you today?
I am amazing, as usual,
It is a
of course.
beautiful
And
day
how
in the
are you?
neighborhood.
It is. It is. And it was kind of chilly this morning.
Oh, that's
Was it
nice.
kind of chilly with you?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really go outside this morning.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm the one that goes outside in the graveyard at 5 o'clock in the morning.
But that's all good.
Oh, yeah, and I watched the sunrise over the gravestones.
Well, that sounds very pleasant.
It is. It really is. And some of the conversations I have too. Absolutely wonderful.
Do you find yourself more aware of the crows while you've been out lately?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Um, We actually had a surprise visit a couple of weeks ago. Um, the thing about it is, when I go out now, it's dark. It's not light anymore like it used to be. And so now I can actually see people because they have their lights on. And so a couple of weeks ago, before the last holiday that passed, Llamas.
Hmm.
I actually, that's when it was actually light, just a little bit light outside. And when it's a little bit light outside, there's certain people who drive who think, well, because I can see outside, everybody can see me. And so we're not going to put our lights on,
Right.
right? And so here I am. I've got this dangerous road that I have to walk on. And it's just a very short distance. But anyway, there's three places that I can go off on, and those short three places are kind of dangerous to walk on, especially when you're walking on them at about 5:30 in the morning.
Right.
And I heard a wolf sound, and I was like, a wolf? Wolves don't come in this close to town. No way. There's just no way. And this was just after we had our conversation with who was the one that wrote the book about crows and ravens? Richard? Was that it?
Yes,
Is
Rick.
that his name? Anyway, yeah, Rick. And I was like, well, this is weird. And something just told me to step off the side of the road. And I did. And as I did, this car just went whoosh right beside me.
Uh,
And I was like, dang, damn.
did you call
And
your
so
thanks?
I continued on. Yeah, that was after I called the guy an asshole. Um, well, I mean, he was because number one, I'm wearing this white cap. Okay, this bright white cap.
Right.
There's nobody else on the road. He saw me, you know, and he didn't even get over.
Right.
So there was no reason why he had to stay on that side of the road. And he was going at over the speed limit because it is a 35-mile speed limit there. And he was going at least 55 or more.
Goodness me.
And so, of course, I called him an asshole. Um,
As you would. As you would. Wait a minute. I think I hear someone at the door.
hey,
Hey,
Saul, it's our native New Orleans writer, spirit woman, and priestess of Oyar. Oh, shit. I got to do that one again. Hey, Saul, it's our native New Orleans. I can't even say it. Damn.
Just keep going.
Okay. Hey, Saul, it's our native New Orleans writer, spirit woman, and priestess of Oh, God damn it.
Oh, yeah.
She's going to kill me. No. Oh,
Nah,
yeah, it's going to kill me.
yeah.
Oh, no, no, no. She's going to kick my ass. Okay. Hey, Saul, it's our native New Orleans writer, spirit woman, and priestess of Oya, our friend Mawiyah Bomani.
Hello, Mawiyah.
hello, hello. Hey,
How you doing, honey?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here. Are
Awesome.
you?
Awesome. And you're just in time for our divination. So Saul is our new divinator.
Divinator.
He is
Does that mean I have to talk
beard.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger when I do it? So it's really more of a magical quote today. Although sometime we probably ought to break out the runes and the cards and everything and do that. But I like this quote, and I think it's really appropriate right now, with the world and people reacting to it. Stop looking for the magic. You are it.
I like that.
Mhm.
I like that a lot.
There's a
Yeah.
wonderful Bob Newhart sketch where he plays a psychologist. It's just like a little short bit he did on a show. And he sits down and someone explains their problem to him. I'm having difficulty with
hmm
spending too much money, and he just says, "Stop it, stop it." And that's his whole therapy. Is he just says, "Stop it."
hmm
And
hmm
gosh, I don't know, and I'm guilty of this too, right? We get so many books, we get so many podcasts, we get so many pieces of input covering the same material, covering that same ground, explaining it again and again,
hmm
sometimes using very, very small words so we can understand it. And we still seem to be looking for that magic bullet, that thing that's just, we're going to go aha, and everything is going to instantly transform like it does in a cartoon. And
hmm
I don't know what it's been like for you, but for me that just doesn't seem to be the way it works.
Yeah, I think for me, when I talk to people, it is that. It is a lot of just wanting a quickness, this whole thing of just give me that one spell, give me that one word, and it's going to transform my life. And they're not looking at it as though I always talk to them about, magic being something that you have to work at every day. It becomes just everything you do becomes a magical process. It isn't that you're ready for a robe, put on your robe and pull out all your candles. It's just how you live your life, all of it. it takes on, just a magical interest. You just start to feel, from the moment you roll out of bed, you take your shower, you're saying all of these things, you're doing all of these magical processes, for how you want your day to look. When I'm cooking, breakfast or fixing my coffee, it's always those same things. I'm chanting over the coffee pot, over the water. So it becomes just a part of who you are. And so for me, I agree. I would agree with that quote. You become the magic, you become the change in your life. And so that's what I try and, you know, first I deal with my own family and then with the community and anybody else that I meet. I try to instill those same thoughts and ideas in them because I'm always, still, searching and figuring it out as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The thing about magic is you are the magic. I mean, what created you?
Mm-hmm,
Magic.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm,
that's what created you in the
mm-hmm,
first place. You know, I I had a conversation with Dorothy Morrison a few weeks ago, and the one thing I said is that we need to value ourselves, and then we need to value others. And if we do
mm-hmm.
that, a lot of this fighting and this bullshit that's going on in the world would cease.
I
Number one.
agree. Mm-hmm,
And um, the one thing we need to do is we need to understand that we are all part of the divine energy, and
mm-hmm,
that's what the magic is, from the divine energy. And when it comes to that, we need to understand that. And once we understand that, and then we can be able to tap into that divine energy and be able to manipulate that energy,
mm-hmm,
then we're good. We're good
mm-hmm,
with that. We appreciate that. Um, I know there's times in which I personally go through this myself. I feel like I'm empty some days. Some days I'll wake up
mm-hmm,
and I feel like I'm empty, and I go through the entire day trying to get positive, trying to, connect and stuff. And there's days I don't. Okay.
mm-hmm,
That's,
mm-hmm.
that's just one day out of a week or so.
Right.
But the next day I get back up and I still keep going. I still keep
Mm-hmm,
going. But I know that there's magic in me. Okay.
mm-hmm,
I know
mm-hmm.
there's one in me. And I know I can be able to turn things around. I may not feel like I can be able to do it, but I know I
Right.
can be able to do it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, it doesn't mean that because your magic is off one day that you're not a
mm-hmm.
magic.
Right,
Okay.
right. And it looks different from day to day. Just like you said, one day you may feel as though, I just, this routine that I did yesterday, it's not going to work for today. Or I just don't even feel like, getting into the role of it all. I know personally for myself, there are days when I feel like that. I feel like, I'm just, frustrated with a lot of different things that are going on. And I just don't feel like, just reaching into my bag of tricks for something. I just want to, just sit, sometimes stew in it, sometimes cry about it, whatever that may be, but it doesn't mean that I'm not magical. It doesn't mean that, what I do doesn't work. It's just, you have those moments, and we're human. So, it happens. I just, I figure it out and set aside something that's going to help balance me out for the next day or that evening or however I'm going to move into it. But I do have those moments too. And I always, tell people that, just because somebody says that they're in this magical arena, doesn't mean that they have perfect lives. You know what I'm saying? They haven't solved everything, and that's what they usually think. Well, you shouldn't have this going on for you, or if that really works, then why are you, why do you have problems? Why do you, because we're human, and we can't escape that. Things happen. You may jump over one hurdle, right? But you can't anticipate the next one that's coming. You just have to figure out how you're going to dig into your bag of tricks and solve that too.
Well, I mean, even if you see it coming, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean you're going to be able to avoid it completely.
Right.
You may have to go through that. That may be part of what
Mm-hmm.
you need to go through it so you can be able to grow and change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, life is not without its own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And if we avoided every single obstacle, every single change, it's just like I always tell people, death is nothing more than a change.
Mm-hmm.
And if we could schedule it, we would call up every single time the appointment came. Oh, we need to change this. We need to
Right.
put it off and put it off until
Mm-hmm.
death. I'm sorry, fuck you.
That's it.
Day going to change. I don't care what the hell you've got done
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
why it's inconvenient. This is your date,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something for you to be able to grow because we don't all want to be the same people we were in high school.
No.
All right. No,
Mm-mm.
I know I don't because I was a messed up person in
Mm-hmm.
high school. All right. I had this bloody hot temper. I was still trying to figure out who I was. I mean, trust me, I was not the person I am today
Mm-hmm.
when I was little. Who wants to be that person
Mm-hmm.
that they
Mm-hmm.
weren't?
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I liked
Right.
about high school is before I became 16 and I had to work, I didn't have to pay taxes. That was the
Mm-hmm.
only thing I really liked.
Right. I feel you on that. Last night, my youngest son, who's the last one at the house, he had open house at his high school. So we were walking around, my husband and I, we were laughing the whole time because we were thinking this was not like our high school experience. Just I think a lot more of the freedom, to do this and that. But and still with all of that, it's just a different world, especially with social media, for a lot of the students and so they can't bring their phones. Louisiana has done away with that, but it's been an issue, for a lot of kids who are probably going to still sneak them in, and we just think about when we were in school, if you felt sick, you went to the office and called your parents, you didn't, sneak a phone in to call somebody. So yeah, there's a lot of change, but I definitely would not want to go back to that high school experience.
Right, right. So, the magic is within you. And back
Yes.
then we didn't have the internet. We didn't have a whole lot of really how to be able to understand magic because I know growing up in the South, you didn't talk
Mm-hmm.
about that. That was something you did
Mm-hmm.
not talk about
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because even, and I'm still in the same place because I had to come back and take care of my mom. They still have the astrologers um, reference books behind the library um, in the reference. So you have to ask a librarian
Mm-hmm.
in order to just pull out an astrologer's reference guide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's all they got. And
Right.
I'm like, we really haven't been advanced
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
since I was in high school. Really?
Right. I hear you. I hear you. And in New Orleans, it's a bit different, growing up. I went to Catholic school early on. But I know, because of Congo Square, because the Africans, the enslaved Africans could still practice their religious practices, and they could still hold court and have all their dances and all these things. It really became an ingrained part of the culture. So you would have people who would go to church, but they would still practice voodoo. They would still be hoodoo practitioners and Santeria. And so it was a known thing. I mean, for a lot of us, we would wonder, what is it that you do practice? We would ask people. So even if you saw groups of people going to church, Catholic church, Baptist, or wherever, you knew that there was always an underlying something else that really fed the family, and not just in times of trouble, but just protection. You're trying to help your child get into university. All of these things. They became just a part of the culture, so to speak. And when I moved to the northern part of Louisiana as a result of Hurricane Katrina, that was different for me because it was just like, my husband and I, we always joke about that, just how New Orleans is the most African place, in the United States. And then we have this in this other area of Louisiana where everything is really shunned. It really is. The first thing they hear you from New Orleans, they think you're a voodoo practitioner and they're scared. So, and in New Orleans, it just, you really didn't have a lot of that. And so it was a real adjustment, moving here. And sometimes, it still baffles me with how things happen. But they recently we got a shop, a sort of a metaphysical shop slash juice bar, which is a step for them. And they were really excited about it, but I think some of the people were still kind of scared. They saw some gems in there, some gemstones in there, kind of like, I don't know if I could touch that or pick that up. But it's starting to, I think, catch on, for a lot of people. And when I talk to people who are here and I talk about Vodun and I talk about Ifa or Santeria, you see their eyes, they sort of open up, to the fact that this is a spiritual practice. I'm not writing off of Hollywood here. You know what I'm saying? They start to really see that there's meaning behind this and there is a purpose for it. And when that happens, then we can have a dialogue. Because I tell people all the time, you don't have to practice it. You don't have to agree with it, but at least know the facts, right? Don't just, go off of, some movie that you saw on television. I had a woman come up to me once and say, well, I saw a James Bond movie, where they were having a second line funeral. Is that how you always do it? And, you had to stop and explain, it's a movie, it's television, right? So, yeah, it's different for me growing up where at a very young age, that was acceptable. My mother, she practiced a lot. And so I knew a lot, I learned a lot. And yeah, it was just a different lifestyle for me. As an older person now, I'm starting to see that other side of, oh, they don't do that, that kind of thing. You don't do that. Oh, we can't talk about that. You want to start talking about that. It's like those memes you see when they say, it's like, oh, when somebody mentions, something spiritual, you start to look like, is that my tribe? That kind of thing. So, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I get it. I get it. Well, the other thing that we want to talk about is about this year, we want to be able to encourage people to cast the vote and to register to vote. Don't we, Saul?
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Well, it's your power, and you have to exercise it. I think it's good to practice on little things like casting a vote, so that you can do the bigger things like manifesting change for yourself. And it's a kind of ritual. It's putting your information out there, and we have to do it. Everybody has to do it. So many people don't, and so their voice doesn't get added. And the people that take the trouble to do it, the ones whose voices are heard. And I think we would be astonished at what would happen if every single person exercised their power of the vote. I think people would just be shocked at what they were shown. And there's so many ways to do it. Cast your vote. Cast it.
Yep. Yep. Because here's the thing. This is how we hire and fire our politicians.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't agree with them, this is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you change. Number one, I did not agree with the overturning of Roe versus Wade. I do not agree with the fact that there's certain politicians out there that wants to take us back to the Middle Ages. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
we have got problems, especially in the states, the southern states, in which not only do they want to take women and put them back into make us into property, but they also want to take um, the LGBTQ community. They also want to take the African American community and anyone else that are minorities and segregate them again. And I've even heard about slavery coming back. Okay. I've heard about that. Literally heard about that. I've even heard about them being pushed back into Africa again. This is no joke. This is
Right.
literally no joke. And so, like I said, if you disagree with this, this is where you cast your vote. This is where turn around and you tell your politicians, hey, I don't believe you. I don't agree with you. You're fired. Get out.
Right, right. I totally agree. You know, as the mother, I have two daughters who are queer, so I really understand how important it is for them to live their truth, you know? Um, my youngest daughter, when she was in high school, she tried to start a club, a group for the LGBTQ plus community, and she was denied constantly, you know? And I told we sat down and we talked about it, you know. And I said to her, I said, you know, when you graduate, you'll be a booster, because that was the reason, right, behind it. The principal was saying, well, the boosters won't agree. And I said, well, when you leave, you know, you're an alumni. You can make those changes. And so she still, when she went on to college, she still, you know, she was reaching back and was able to work with the group. And we did rituals. And so they have that organization now at the school. And so for a lot of kids, you know, the reason, you know, they were looking for an advisor. Nobody wanted to do it. And a friend of mine, her daughter is working there, and she said, well, I'll take that group on, you know, I'll do it. And so it felt good to her, even being, you know, in college and knowing that she won't, you know, she's not there in high school with the group, but just the fact of knowing that it didn't stop. And I think, you know, we should take that same approach when we deal with our vote. You know, we keep fighting, you know, we get out there and we make things happen. You know, a lot of times people feel like, and I always talk to students about this, you know, if it's not my group, then I don't want to part in it. You know what I'm saying? Until it becomes me, you know. And I say, well, you know, it never stops with just one group. You know, you know, if I can stop this group, then I'm going to keep working to stop the next thing and the next thing, until eventually it will become something that you really want to stand for, you know. And nobody will be there with you, you know what I'm saying? Because you weren't there with those other people. So we have to start, you know, fighting, even if it's not within our wheelhouse, as we like to think. You know, if you don't care about the book bans, you still should fight for the book, you know, against that. You know, whatever it is, you know, if it's not your thing, still stand. You know, stand with the individuals who are championing that and who are trying to fight against it. You know, we have to stand together, because that's the only way that we're going to stop just being bulldozered over, you know.
Right, right. I mean, we have a library in South Carolina that had to hire security guards June, all because of a rainbow that was placed on a poster board. That's all that was done. It didn't say pride. It didn't say gays. It didn't say lesbians. It didn't say LGBTQ. It was a rainbow. That's all there was. And I'm like, I mean, people were breaking in. People were, you know,
Yes.
coming to the librarians and threatening them. And have people just gone mad?
Right.
What the heck?
Yeah.
And they were coming in and they were going through the children's sections and they were just torturing the books. And I'm
Yeah.
like, are you fucking kidding me? And
Mm-hmm.
this was a small town library.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm, what? what in the world?
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
People have time to act on that kind of rage. Just they have too much leisure.
Right. Exactly.
You-
They need a
You're
hobby.
not doing enough with your life if
Right.
you got to go yell
You're
at
not.
rainbows.
Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, people like that really need to be placed in a mental health facility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what. But anyway, as we were saying, you need to go and register to vote and you need to cast it because that's the only way you're going to change. And if you don't do it, you have no right
That's right.
in this
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
word, as far as I'm concerned, because that is what we do as U.S. citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And we do not go to the Capitol and try to kill anybody over
No.
this. Okay.
No.
No, we don't go and assassinate anyone. We don't do any of that. We go and we cast votes. That's how
Mm-hmm.
we deal with things. All right. So there we go. Cast your vote, period.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we are going to go to listen to our amazing sponsors, and we will be right back with Witch Chat Chats. So stay tuned. Anybody can tell you what is on a tarot or oracle card. What matters is seeing beyond what others may not be able to see and help the client to uncover what lies in the mist. What do readings from Moonlight Potions and Charms do? Wednesday, I did this ancestor reading, and it was an amazing reading. And it was a detailed reading. And I remember talking to this customer's ancestors, and it was so delightful. And he wanted some questions to be answered about the magic in his family because he didn't know. And his family was mostly like most of our families are. You know how everything is like hush hush when it comes to the magic in his family. And he wanted to know, who can he actually talk to about the history of the magic in his family? And I was able to give him specifically who he can go to talk to about that. What particular deity he can actually go to be able to help him with this. And it was just an amazing reading, and talking to his ancestors, they were such a delight, and they told me so much about this customer. It was just an absolutely wonderful reading for him, and I was just so happy to be able to give him this wonderful reading. It's really amazing to be able to give people these readings, these products that's really going to help them, and be able to give back to the community, because this is what Moonlight Potions and Charms is about. We want to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. That is what we are all about. It's to help you to do that. Book now and allow our wonderful staff to take care of your spiritual reading needs. And there is so much more in our Wicked store to help you to embrace the power of your own magic. So come on in to Moonlight Potions and Charms at www.moonlightpotionscharms.com and discover the wicked things that ignite the magical passion in you. Have you heard? The King of the Crossroads, Papa Legba, has graciously opened the roads, paving the way for the Papa Legba Altar on the Go to be nominated as Outstanding Product of the Year in the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Makes Papa Legba Altar on the Go stand out? Complete traveling altar kits. Everything you need for sacred space is right at your fingertips, all neatly arranged in a mystical painter's pail. And it's compact and convenient A perfect, powerful, temporary altar, whether you're a modern nomad, a military soul on the move, or a wanderlust-stricken traveler. It also has additional space for the personal touch. As customization is a key to your spiritual journey, the Papa Legba Altar on the Go leaves room for you to infuse your unique energy. Moonlight Potions and Charms and Papa Legba invites you to join the spellbinding spectacle at the 2024 Witchcraft and Occult Media Awards. Cast your vote for the Papa Legba on the Go as the outstanding product of the year. Your support fuels the magic. Go to https://rb.gy/PC3F11 to cast your vote. Remember, your altar is not just a space, it's a step in your magical journey. Explore the depths of your inner self by visiting Moonlight Potions and Charms at mpcmagic.com. Be ready to embrace the power of your own magic. Have you wondered what spirituality is? Spirituality is limitless, as it does not contain any boundaries on beliefs or practices. Spirituality's most important component is personal experience and allows one to explore it freely. Evermoving We Rise is a spiritual moving tradition, as our name is our lifestyle, because we are persistently rising and moving forward. We realize that everyone's spiritual journey is extremely personal, but more easily traveled with reinforcement. We'll teach you to become friends with your shadow, emerge your authentic self, and give you time and space to develop your own spirituality. And when situations bump back, you'll have the entire community behind you, as we are a magical family who work to sustain each other. Discover the benefits of working within a society dedicated to helping you grow on your personal path. Visit us on our website, Linktree, or Facebook page and discover why we don't fit in the box.
Welcome back to Witch Hat Chats. I'm here with Miss Nikki Kirby and Mawiyah Bomani. That sounds like it needs to be a song. That's something Harry Belafonte should be singing, right? Wouldn't that be great?
That would be wonderful. That would be
a jazz song, honey. That's what it would be.
A song. You could be a drink, right? I'd
sure
like
enough. Not that one.
Bomani.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I don't know. That may be too much, right? You seem like you can be a lot. So we've been talking about stuff. We've been talking about being the magic. We've been talking about casting that vote. But you got a recent book out, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Conjuring the Calabash. Empowering women with hoodoo, spells, and magic. Yeah, that's it.
Out here.
Mm-hmm.
Hold it up again. Hold it up again, Nikki. Get a proper look there. Fantastic.
Thank you.
So one of the things that always comes up when we talk about different practices and cultures and that kind of thing, a lot of people get really nervous about accessing something new, right? Mm-hmm. You talked about the fear that some people have about, getting zapped by the mojo and the crystals,
right?
I was wondering when you were growing up if the priests in the church really knew this other stuff was going on, and they just kind of didn't talk about it. As long as you're doing this thing, you do the other,
right?
Or if they really were that ignorant about the whole thing.
For me, we were always taught stories, constantly about the culture, so about Marie Laveau. And so one of the stories my grandparents they always loved to tell was about how she would actually use the cathedral for a lot of her working. So the priest would allow her to be able to go into the cathedral after mass and to actually lay out all of her tools and have her own blessings for that working. So she would, when we think about New Orleans voodoo, it is still rooted heavily in Catholicism, right? And
Sure.
so
Right.
there's still those overlappings. So when I actually, when the nuns came out to the neighborhoods, to try to get the kids to go to the Catholic school, because at this time you had a lot of white kids who were moving into other neighborhoods, right? And so these schools, New Orleans has a shitload of Catholic schools. So all of these schools needed to have students. So they started, at first it wasn't a big push to go into the African American community until, you had white kids leaving and going to other areas. There were still, a lot of schools that were predominantly Catholic and white, but you had these schools in these neighborhoods, you had parents or people, moving into other socioeconomic levels, economic levels. And so the more money they were able to acquire, the better systems they wanted for their kids. So it wasn't always a public school thing. They were trying to figure out, well, what is the next best thing to this type of education system? And so when the nuns went out and they would talk about the Catholic approach, you could have church, right? You would still have that education, but under this guise of your child is still getting this religious education as well, not just, the book smarts or public education. And one of the things that I remember, the nun came to our house and she would talk about how she was an actual nun who participated in the real exorcism. That was her selling point. She brought up, that movie, The Exorcist. That's how she started talking. And she said, I actually was there and I was in the hospital when this, and she would rattle off all these things that she saw. And I think, my parents were more interested in the fact of a better education and not so much into all that, because
Sure.
my mom's like, look, I see spirits, okay, lady, whatever you got. But there was a lot of knowing, and I think, it was just a lot of we just need to stay afloat, I think, for a lot of them. So, at that point, they started to make a lot more money. The Catholic schools started getting a lot of those students, and so I think nobody really cared about all of that. It wasn't until after Hurricane Katrina, and a lot of people were displaced, where you started to see the closing of a lot of those schools,
Right.
and so I think they knew, I think that it became one of those things where you try to fight against it, but you start to see that it is part of the fabric of the city. And if I fight too much, I push too hard, then I'm going to lose, And so what's more important, the money, or me trying to go against this doctrine, And so I
Sure.
think that, I think that was, the reason that they allowed it just to be, its own thing. Yeah.
Well, and the reason why I bring this up is one, there's a lot of gatekeeping going on, especially when someone starts broadening their spiritual horizons beyond their indoctrination, and they make these discoveries. Oh, I didn't know people did that. And
Right.
some of them are met with the idea of, oh no, not you. That's not yours to do. And I definitely see where that makes sense. You have to have respect for culture and spirituality that you're getting into, but also when people are writing books and putting things out there. So the book that you have written, who is the audience for that? Is there anything in there that someone has to qualify themselves for, or just have at?
Well, one of the things that I always tell people is that for me, in writing the book, I wanted to talk to BIPOC people, Black, Indigenous people of color first, because for us, it's been a lot of fear. When I step outside of my wonderful city, there's a lot of fear about going back to the past. There's a lot of deep-seated emotions about attaching yourself to something that is not Christian, just that all along. And so I wanted to show people with this book that it is still part of who we are, and it is very much what sustained us to this point. And I talk about being allies, if you're white, understanding that this is a practice to be taken seriously and not something that is sugar-coated or something you can just look at as a lower form of magic. As well as there are overlappings, if hoodoo, for me, the way I was always taught is that, during our enslavement, we didn't have doctors for us. We needed protection from so many different things, and hoodoo became that sort of resolve for that. And so I would say that when I'm working with people who are not, indigenous, Black, BIPOC people, I would say, learn this information because you can help somebody else who may have that fear that you may know. But there are always overlappings. There are always things that you can do. Card magic is for anybody. Now, when I start to work with Lama Dama and I start to think about the energy of people who are enslaved, then you might not feel comfortable if you're not a person of color to work with that energy. You may feel that is, because that energy will present itself, that when I work with it in a way in which we're still thinking about the moment of being captive. And so what are you going to look like talking to someone who feels as though they're that they don't have control of their lives? What is your image going to resonate, with them as, friend or foe kind of thing? And so while there are overlappings, I encourage people to do those things, anybody, the overlappings, the things that you feel and in your heart are specifically for a certain group of people, then allow those groups of people to have that. That does not mean that it is wrong to allow them to have those things. It just means that they have a deeper connection to that story, right? And their DNA, right? And so they should be allowed to make that their sacred space, their safe space in terms of how they approach magic. So I always tell people the book is for everybody. Even if you feel like, okay, I read this book and I don't feel in my heart that I can do the workings, you can share your knowledge with somebody else who says, oh, this group of people only do magic this way, or they do this. That's not really or you can say, oh, no, it is, because this book, read this book, so I feel that it's for everybody. Really, I do. And so I just want people to be respectful, of the parts of the book that are deeply rooted in that trauma,
Right.
Right. I completely understand that 100%. I tell everybody, I said, just because you were raised in a certain religious way, which I believe that every parent should start with a certain religion, okay, doesn't mean that that religion is for you, okay? Because we all, in certain parts of our lives, we have to change. And as we change, spirituality changes with us. I'm not the same person that I was when I was 5 years old, okay? And I was raised as a Baptist. My mom didn't go to church. She didn't make me go to church. I went to church because I wanted to be with my friends. I'm telling you, all the different churches that I went to, because it was the Bible Belt, I hated them. I hated every one of them because, number one, my parents weren't married. That was my first big sin. Actually, no, my first big sin was I was a female. That was my first big sin. Okay. My second big sin was my parents weren't married. And my third, which was strike out, I was redheaded. Okay, so that meant I was the devil's daughter. And so therefore everything was blamed on me. Didn't matter whether I did it or not. If I was around, or even if I was thought of, I was blamed.
Mm-hmm.
I was even accused of knocking a building off of its foundation. Seriously,
Mm-hmm.
I was accused. And and people are still wondering how I got accused of that. I said I was redheaded, I'm a female,
Mm-hmm.
and there you go. That's all they
Right.
need.
Right.
They didn't need proof. That was it.
Right.
That was proof that I needed. Just like
Mm-hmm.
today. That's all they had to do is put that in the commercial,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty. Okay.
Right. Right.
And it doesn't help that I practice magic now. There
Mm-hmm.
you go. Right there is the nail that just put it
Mm-hmm.
in the coffin. Boom, right there. So I get it. And when I turned against God and the Christian Bible and everything like that, people just went nuts because I became an atheist. Because
Right.
I thought that was the only religion that was out there.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Mm-hmm.
We were not allowed to explore anything else.
Mm-hmm.
In our libraries, they didn't have anything else for us to explore. They didn't have nothing about Buddhism, even though we knew that existed, because
Mm-hmm.
oh no,
Mm-hmm.
that's devil stuff. That's devil
Right.
stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or Taoism. We didn't know
Mm-hmm.
anything about that. It wasn't until I was able to get out of my uh county and into college
Mm-hmm.
that I was able to explore. And I had my college roommate that actually gave me a book to buy in college about Wicca.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Cunningham was my first.
Mm-hmm.
And I started reading about that. And I'm like, this is stuff I already knew. And see,
Right.
it didn't really help that I was able to answer questions that you never did ask me, but you did ask me, but you never did actually speak it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
you know what I meant,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I read that, or I knew things that were going to happen before they
Right.
happened,
Right. Right.
or declared to be weird, and I had
Mm-hmm.
to control not saying that kind of stuff
Right.
or doing
Right.
that kind of stuff. And things happened around me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it was just all kinds of stuff. So, like I said, everything was already being blamed on me. So it really
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter. Um, so when it came to looking at other different religions and everything, I just said I was an atheist because I didn't believe in a damn thing. Screw you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I figured Jesus already turned his damn back on me. And if there was a God out there, he was a bastard from hell any damn way, because he had all of these people and they were already calling me that I was Satan and I was the worst thing in the world. And I was a good kid. That was what was so bad. My brothers were the ones that were always so mean, so treacherous. Hell, they even tried to kill me most of my life growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the good one. I was the one that was never in trouble. And if I did do anything, quote, bad, which wasn't really that bad, I covered my ass and
Mm-hmm.
made sure
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get in trouble for it.
Right.
But I said I was always blamed for things that I never did
Mm-hmm.
because of my red hair, or because I was a female, or because I was a bastard. So it was like, what the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so, so when you get told all the time, you know how many times I had to read that Bible? I was forced to read that Bible because of stupid crap
Mm-hmm.
several times when I was a kid. And that to me was boring. And then when I started to ask questions because it didn't make sense, So
Right.
like, when you get to those points and stuff, but anyway, as my original point is, even as you grow older, it may not make sense for you being in that same religious path. You may want
Mm-hmm.
to have to change,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay.
Right.
It's okay
Right.
because I believe everybody should not be in a religious path. I believe they should be in a spiritual path
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
that means you're actually experiencing it
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody telling you that this is the one way and this is the only way that you can be.
Right. I totally agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. I know growing up for myself, being at a very young age and being able to see spirits, 5, 6 years old, and telling my mom, and my mom helping me through it because she could also see them and telling me, don't go to school, don't go tell the nuns, that, or, they'll take you away, that kind of thing. So for me, it was always just a deeper understanding of this is a way, this is a spiritual thing, this isn't a religion, and so I can be free enough to maneuver back and forth, to rely on the voodoo or the hoodoo or the santeria and not feel boxed in, you know what I'm saying, as just one thing. You have to do this one thing until the day you die. I could pull from all of those different areas, and so that's what I try to relay in the book, this whole idea of, for people who feel skittish, about spiritual practices that are not rooted in Christianity 100%. I really wanted them to come into it and know that you can do these workings, you can begin to feel connected to your ancestors, to your lineage, and hopefully with the next book that I'm working on, whenever I get it finished, then they can be more feel more at ease to gravitate towards setting up altar spaces, to really becoming active participants and practitioners and movers and shakers. I like to call them spiritual disruptors, in their own lives, and working with self. But then I encourage a lot of workings for the community as a whole. And so I've been talking to a lot of people and talking to a lot of people who knew a lot of people in the civil rights movement and different areas who were champions for this and that, and creating workings for these individuals. I call them our saints, right? Because we don't have to just have saints from the Bible or things like that, but these individuals, and we can create spaces, sacred spaces for them, and utilize their energy within our work and in our everyday. The more you hear about things, violence against people, whether it's police violence or whatever it is, a racial, just racial violence. The more people I've been talking to about how do we protect ourselves, how do we, you know, have this place where we can have our magic, use our magic to fight against it, to protect ourselves, but also to protect our communities. And so that while it is a massive task, I try to create some workings that are centered around that for this next book. And I think about my own children, and I think about my husband, I think about myself. I work at a school. Earlier, I mentioned that, but for 15 years that I've been working at this particular school, I've been teaching since '97. But for the last 15 years that I've been at this school, I've been the only person of color, right? The only one. And that takes a lot every day to get up, and to, even with magic, to know that I have to wear the mask, like Paul Lawrence Dunbar says, right? I have to wear the mask again and get out there and do my thing. For me, because people will say, girl, why don't you just leave that job? And I say, because there are children there who look like me. There are Latino children here, there are white children here whose parents will say things about people of color, but who see something different. And they will say it to me. They will say, well, my mom or my dad say that I should not like you, but you're a great, I like you, and they see that. And so for me, it's about those children making those decisions for themselves and
Right.
understanding that you can hear this chatter, right? But when you see the emotional toll, you see how we can work together, then they will grow into who they're going to be, and they'll remember those instances, and hopefully, that they will create a new world and a new ideology behind how they internalize their relationships with people, all people.
And the thing about it is, I actually understand what you actually go through, because I have been in a work environment where I was the only white person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Else was African American, and nobody wanted to talk to me because I was
mm-hmm,
white.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Like, I grew up with um, multiple different people of ethnic backgrounds.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I don't care what your ethnic background is, because I treat people the way I want to be treated. I always
mm-hmm,
have. And I never understood that. I
mm-hmm,
don't understand why people treat others differently because of a disability, of an ethnic background thing.
mm-hmm,
If you're acting like an ass, I tell you, you're acting like an ass. I don't care who you are, whether whatever you have. Even if you're in a wheelchair,
mm-hmm.
I tell you, you're acting like an ass. Quit
Right,
acting like an,
right,
you know,
right, right, right.
I'm, I've always been like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And and people look at me like, but he's in a wheelchair. I'm like, I don't care. Or they're old. I'm like, I don't care.
right,
That doesn't give
right.
you reason to act like an ass. Or I'm hurting. Well, I'm hurting too, okay?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But I'm trying my best not
mm-hmm,
to take it out on other people.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It doesn't give me the right to take it out on other people.
Right.
Even though even though they're pissing me off, I'm
Yeah.
still trying to take it out on other people, okay?
Mm-hmm,
I'm doing my best. I really am. But
mm-hmm,
I'm trying to treat you, I'm trying to value you because I value myself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm trying to walk that talk. I'm
Right.
trying to be the change that I want to see in others. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying.
Mm-hmm,
Now, and if we don't do that now, how can we teach the children of the next generation that?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Right?
mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it is.
It sure
Otherwise,
is.
people are going to, just like the Putins
Mm-hmm,
that they're doing now. You know, we don't need that. We don't need more violence. We need more positive
mm-hmm,
movements in this
mm-hmm.
world. So, I mean, I highly recommend the book here. It's called, what is it called now?
Conjuring the
The Conjure.
Calabash. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Empowering women with hoodoo spells and magic. Mm-hmm.
And you will find all of her information in our notes. So, where can our people reach you?
The best place is to go to my website. It's my name, Mawiyah Kai EL-Jamah Bomani.com. So they can go there. If you follow, Facebook, Mawiyah Bomani, Instagram, Mawiyah Bomani. It's all simple. I try to make it simple. So they can go there as well. But yeah, just hit me up. Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So,
Mhm.
thank you so much for appearing on our show. We
Thank
absolutely
you.
love you, honey.
Thank you for having me.
And that's all for our show today. So embrace your power, support your community, keep your fuzzy babies, your family, friends, yourself safe, and cast your vote and have an absolute magical week.